The UFC will be headed to Kansas City as Ian Machado Gary puts his ranking on the line against the fighting nerd sensation Carlos Prates, alongside some other tasty fights on a UFC fight night that promises to have many shocks, twists, and turns. I'm here with the MMA professional, Mr. Colin Crandall. Sit back, relax. It is MMA from London to LA. Let's speak about it. Yes, lovely people. Hope you're well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and more importantly, make sure you go and support Colin on all of his channels and social media as well. Colin, it's been a while, bro. How are you doing?
Doing well, Callum. Always great to work with you and come bring MMA from London to LA back into people's homes. As everyone knows, we are the preferred MMA broadcast of not only Scotland Yard but King Charles, and so we know they're all watching right now, or as they will watch as we put this out live, which will be quite shortly.
Indeed. Look, let's get straight into it. Obviously, we've got a UFC card this weekend. Ian Machado Gary filling in for Carlos Prates fight. Again, Ian Machado Gary, like him or not, you have to respect him. He's saving another card for UFC effectively. But we will get to that main event shortly. We're going to start with a fight on the main card between Ikram Askrelov versus Andre Muniz, a very, very entertaining fight potentially at middleweight. Askrelov, if I'm not mistaken, his last fight would have been against Robert Whittaker, I believe, that KO loss. I'll just double check.
Yes.
And then Muniz has been having a good little spell at middleweight. How do you see the fight going, bro?
Interesting fight here. It is Ikram Aliskerov, very tough, newer to the UFC, with just 3 fights, 2 of them wins and 1 loss to Whittaker. Muniz, and then they call Sergio Pano from Brazil, has several UFC fights. It looks like 6, 7, 8 UFC fights and has had 6 wins and 2 losses. His losses against Brendan Allen and Paul Craig, coming off a split win against the very tough Korean Iron Turtle, Jun Young Park. This is a really tough fight, I have to say, and it really could go either way. The age difference, let's take a look. Sergio Pano, Muniz is 35, and Ikram Aliskerov is 32, so not a huge difference there. Aliskerov wins his fights half by submission and half by KO, or nearly that. He's actually, got 3 fights by decision, but his finishes are 50-50 submission and with stoppage on strikes, whereas the jiu-jitsu guy from Brazil is much more the submission heavy finisher, with 15 of his 24 wins coming by submission, and only 4 of them by KO or TKO. So, this is a tough one. I don't know what to call on this one. I think that Muniz is definitely not as good as Robert Whittaker. But then Aliskerov did get caught quickly by Whittaker. This one could be a tough one. This could go either way. I would say maybe I'm leaning more toward Muniz, but I don't think I would make it to the betting window on this. This should be a really competitive fight, an important one for both of these guys in their early to mid and mid 30s.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I'm gonna go with Aliskerov only because he was in there with Robert Whittaker, and I think he'll take a lot from that. I know it was a devastating loss, and look, he got absolutely battered by Whittaker in the short time that he was in there with him. I think he'll take a lot from that fight, though, and I think that fight against Whittaker, he was pushed maybe too soon by the promotion. It was a massive jump up from who he'd been fighting. However, I do think that will bode well for him in the future, and I think it will almost give him that humility going into training, etc., and preparing for fights now. I'm going to go Aliskerov. I think I'm going to go for a decision win, though.
I like that. Speaking about battered, we are open to one sponsor of a good fish and chip shop in England. So if your food is battered and quite tasty and delicious, you couldn't hurt your cause by sponsoring our show. So if anyone knows a good fish and chips shop, let us
Let us
know.
know.
And
Let us
yes,
know, indeed.
yes,
On to the next fight. I'm going to be honest with you. I always try and be impartial when I do this. But it's Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dolby. I mean, you guys know I'm Jamaican, heritage, background, etc. Randy Brown versus Dolby. I think you know which way I'm going with this. I'm going to give you the unenviable task of selling why Dolby could potentially win this fight, bro.
I like it. I like it. Well, let's see. Rude boy Randy Brown, very tough fighter out of Spanish Town, Jamaica. 19 and
Mm,
6 is his record with 12 finishes, 7 KOs, and 5 by submission. Last fight was a very tough loss to Brian Battle. A lot of people felt he won that, and I was one of them.
I did as well.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
I thought he got hard done by in that.
yeah, exactly. Got robbed, as they'd say here in the States.
Mm,
Otherwise, he was on a 3-fight win streak. He is 34 years old, 6'3", and 170. And I think his opponent is nearly 10 years older than him. Let's see, not 44, 40, so 6 years. Dalby
mm.
is 5'11", 177 out of Copenhagen, Denmark, having lost his last fight by split decision too, after having won 4 fights in a row. This is a really tough fight to call. They're both so good. Probably it's more important for Dalby to win at 40 because as he starts losing because of his age, they're probably going to try to convince him to retire. Have you had a look at the odds on this? I would imagine Brown is slightly favored. Can you see?
I would expect.
Yeah. I,
I'd be very shocked if he wasn't, considering the age, size, reach, length he's got on him.
Yeah, yeah. I think I am leaning Brown on this, but I think that Dalby is always so tough and gritty. The fight probably does go the distance, but I do think Brown is just younger and much rangier and I think your guy from Jamaica will win this fight. It's going to be hard fought though. Dalby is such a tough guy and he'll be fighting very very hard at 40. I love cheering for the older guys, but in this case, I do think Brown should win this fight. Sorry, I
Yeah.
couldn't take the opposite side to make it more compelling.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Randy gets the job done. I think it's a nice fight back for him. As we both said, I thought he did beat Brian Battle, but he obviously didn't get the decision. Randy Brown's always sort of been on the cusp of breaking into that top 15, and then when he gets close, it just never really seems to happen. But hopefully a good win here, and then he can propel himself back to another fight that could get him into that top 15. So time will tell. But I've just got Randy Brown finishing him with this in 2 rounds.
Could
I'm
be,
gonna go for a
could
TKO
be.
victory.
That would be impressive. If he got that, that would definitely give him some momentum to climb into the upper echelon, if you will.
Next fight on the card is a very interesting fight. It is Michel Pereira going up against Abus Magomedov. Abus Magomedov's most recent victory was against Bruno Ferreira. However, he has lost against Kyle Bahalio and also Sean Strickland in his last 4 fights. So he's 2-2 in his last 4. Pereira, on the other hand, had that devastating beatdown by Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. That was back in
October last year.
October, and that I don't know about you, but that was about as brutal a beatdown. And Anthony Hernandez, when he gets into that rhythm, he just drags you into deep water. There's just nothing you can do, and you could just see a massive disparity in gas tank in that fight. And the moment Anthony Fernandez had him hurt and had his way with him, it was just an easy night for him. How do you think Pereira bounces back from that?
I think he's going to bounce back well. He seems like a very strong-minded guy. I think he's going to be angry about how that fight went down, and I think he's going to come back here shooting in all cylinders, as they say. It's going to be a good fight, though, because Abus is a tough guy. But I would favor Pereira here just slightly, and I think he will win this fight. And I think he'll be back on track. And I think Abus is a very tough guy, though. He could, if Pereira has somehow really lost some confidence or lost a step, it could go the other way. But at 31, I would doubt that he has. He just had for whatever reason, it seems like he wasn't prepared for the wrestling of Fluffy Hernandez, or just something went wrong. But I think he'll be back, and I'm favoring Demolador from Brazil, Michel Pereira, in this one. How about you?
Yeah, I think the point that you make that really stands out to me is how much did that take a toll on him mentally, that fight. Because one thing we have to give him credit for is that he could have kind of given up at any point in that fight when he got really tired, and he kept on going. He stayed in there, and he didn't give up on himself, which is admirable, because we've both been in situations where we've either sparred or been doing groundwork, and someone's just getting the better of you. It's very easy to say, all right, I've just had enough of this,
Yeah.
and throw your
Yeah.
towel in. And he never did that once. So kudos to him for that. And I think Hernandez is going to be a real terror in that division for a lot of fighters. So he was just the first to really witness it at that top level. That being said, if his confidence has wavered, it's going to be interesting to see how he never navigates that, because he is a fighter that fights with a lot of flair, a lot of audacious things he does in the cage. Is he going to temper that down? And if he does he become more clinical? Does he become more of a shelled fighter? And if he becomes more of a shelled fighter in that middleweight division, you're surrounded by sharks, and it's not going to end in a good way. I think he's gonna. I think he's got to go on the attack, and I think if he does go on the attack, I think he does get the stoppage win, and I think he can get one in the first round. I'm going to go for a TKO in the first round for Pereira.
I like it. Well, that is well said. A good matchup. And you guys know this is the best show on the air, from London to LA, MMA from London to
Indeed.
LA. And the other shows are the best shows, also with Callum Sanderson, the man who has the wrestling of Cael Sanderson. He has the brains of the greatest analyst in sports, the looks of the best male model and movie star, and the charisma of the biggest movie star actor, and all rolled into one super knowledgeable MMA genius, and still young as a younger millennial. So Callum is the man. He is the future.
Bless
Instead
you.
of Macy Barber, should be Callum, the future Sanderson.
Bless you, bless you. Well, you may call me a genius, but I'm not the professor. You are that, and
I
always a
appreciate it.
delight to do these shows with you. On
You
to the
too.
next fight, bro. And we have Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. This fight's at featherweight. If I'm not mistaken, Onama's been fighting at lightweight, hasn't he?
I think
So
so.
coming down a weight, always a risky thing to do. Uh, I'm trying to think the last time Chikadze actually fought. Was it against Calvin Cater?
I think it might have been. Let's take a look here. Giga Chikadze is a really good guy. I interviewed him a couple times early in the pandemic era there. And Giga Chikadze is, wow, he's 36 now, right? And his last fight, no, he did.
No,
He's had two fights
Arnold
since
Allen.
then. He beat Alex Caceres and then did lose, to Arnold Allen. Was his last
Mm.
fight, and that was July of last year.
Oh yes, it was. Silly me. That was in the UK. That was Edwards Bilal Muhammad.
That's right. That's right. And David Onama, the man that I like to say his nickname should be Remember My Name, Onama. And a little dad humor for you, but he is the silent assassin out of Kansas City, Missouri. Oh, so he's fighting at home.
Hometown.
Hometown, yeah, for Onama. And Onama is the younger fighter at 30, and he's on a good win streak, beating Gabriel Santos, Jonathan Pierce, and Roberto Romero. Definitely a step up in class here against Giga
Mm.
Chikadze. This should be a really good fight, though. I think I'm going to go Chikadze in this one, although with all the cheering people are going to do in Kansas City, Giga is really probably going to have to win fairly clearly, possibly to get the decision against the younger fighter, with less losses on his record. But I think it'll be a battle. Onama's a tough guy. In the UFC, he's beat those aforementioned men, as well as Garrett
Yeah.
Armfield and Gabriel Benitez, losing only to Mason Jones and Nate Landwehr.
And
Yeah,
that Nate Landwehr fight was
that was
amazing.
epic. That was epic, and that could have been
Oh,
a win. That really could have gone
yeah.
Onama's
That's
way as
that's
well.
one of those fights that you almost wish that was on a pay-per-view, and
Yes.
you got to be you'd hope more people would have seen it in a raucous stadium. But that fight was absolutely amazing, and as you said, could have gone either way. And if I'm not mistaken, many people said that was the fight of the year back in 2022. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a brilliant fight.
That's the fight that helped us remember his Onama.
Indeed, and I will never forget. But no,
Me neither.
I'm going from. I think I'm going to go for the upset. I think I'm going to go for an armor here.
Wouldn't shock me. It might be an anomaly if it comes up. Yeah, we're killing
No,
it with it.
that was brilliant. That was actually
Thank
brilliant.
you. That was all right,
That
wasn't
was
it? Thank
brilliant.
you. Thank you.
That was brilliant. Yeah,
Indeed.
I
Thank
think
you.
I think I'll go for a decision. Putting Giga away seems to be almost impossible, so I think I'm going to go for a decision with this one.
Yeah, I think you could be right. It'd be a good battle, though. I think the winner will be maybe not in title contention, but will be a step closer, which will still put them not far away.
Indeed. The co-main event, bro. Look, I hate being someone who says this. I don't like seeing fighters fight beyond their years,
Yeah.
and I hate to say because look, Lionheart is got a really good mind for MMA. He's a very good analyst in my opinion, a very good pundit. I know he rubs some people up the wrong way, but when you say things that are controversial or critical, that's always going to happen. That being said, I don't want to see him fighting anymore. And look, he could go out there and win against Ming Yang. I just don't want to see him fighting anymore because it feels as though he's now just being used as a guy to prop up and coming talent, and
A
he's
gatekeeper, if you
losing,
will. Yeah.
yeah, but he's losing these fights, and it's not comfortable watching these fights. And with every fight that happens, it feels as though the opponent beats a bit more of the fight out of him each time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm
Unfortunate.
not too confident about this fight, man. I don't really want to see it, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know how
It's
you
kind of
feel.
it's kind of as if you sat down to a poorly prepared steak and kidney pie
Yeah, yeah,
for a meal, right? You know, how's
yeah.
that for a good one?
You just know it's not gonna taste right.
Right.
It's just
Yeah. 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 That's what I
ah,
think. And it's a co-main event as well. I mean, Lionheart is a tough guy, but what, losing 5 fights to get a co-main event? No, he didn't. Well, you know what? He's lost 5 fights, but he had 2 wins in between there. But he's lost 2 in a row, and then he's lost 3. He's lost 5 of his last 7 fights. Barely getting the win over Ryan Spann. That could have been another loss. So yeah, I don't know what to say on this one. This one, I mean, Smith is 38 years old and has 59 fights. That's a lot of mileage on no, he's 36. Might as well have been 38. And then Minyang Zhang is a very tough guy out of China, I would say for sure, although he's maybe training somewhere else. 6'2", 205. He's only 26 years old, 10-year age difference, 24 fights compared to 59 fights. Zhang is 3-0 in the UFC, but has only beaten George Tokos, Branson Hibero, and Osman Diaz, although he stopped them all. Wow, he is a finishing machine with 18 finishes of 18 victories. 12 by KO and 6 by submission. But beating a lot of people that literally nobody has heard of, other than the aforementioned fighters that I mentioned. That's redundant, that I stated previously. So this is, who knows what happens here. But yeah, Smith, I hate to see him get beaten up again. But if so, I think this may be the last time. But yeah, I don't know how to call this. I hope Smith wins, but then if he wins, he'll want to fight again. I don't know. Don't know which way to cheer on this. I would say that Zhang's team is probably telling him, if you lose to this version of Anthony Smith,
Yeah,
then what are we even doing here?
yeah,
Right. And I don't know if a team would ever say that, but you kind of feel like that would be the sentiment. If we can't beat this Anthony Smith, then we might as well, go back to
yeah,
China and get a job in construction or
yeah,
wherever. Nothing wrong and no disrespect at all to construction, but the big strong guy, just the thought of what he could do over there, and it wouldn't be fighting. He has to beat Anthony Smith. And I think he'll be trying really hard and probably will. In all honesty, I would probably lean Zhang. I wonder what the odds are in this. I keep asking that question, and I know you don't have it
yeah,
pulled up there,
yeah,
but I'm going to check here because it's hang on, it's I'm very curious here. So let's take a look here. And so the odds from Best Fight Odds, which are all a cross section of odds here, are wow. Yeah, this is about a 4-to-1 proposition. You have to lay minus 450 to minus 590 on
yeah.
Zhang, and then the comeback, depending on where you shop, is plus 350 to plus 380 on Lionheart. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
kind of expected that.
yeah, sounds about right. But then, in all honesty, there you're risking a fair bit to I don't know. I don't think, to me, this is a no play on this. I'm just hope somehow Lionheart does something good, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't, or if he does.
Yeah, I can't see him winning, man. Once again, I like Lionheart. I'd love him to win, but at the same time, I'm like you. If he wins, he's gonna want to continue, and I kind of just want to see him behind the desk now. If I'm gonna be honest,
Yeah,
just want to see him behind the desk. I think he'd do a fantastic job of doing that, and it prolongs his health, man. I'm here for fight health before entertainment. If I'm gonna be honest, so I I'm gonna go with Zhang. I don't think he'll lose this. I'm just hoping it's not a devastating beatdown or anything like that.
yeah, I agree. I hope not either.
Yeah.
Although I know his team hopes it is.
Yeah, exactly. And on to the main event. Ian Machado Gary steps in there with the fighting nerd Carlos Prates, who is yet to taste defeat in the UFC. This should be a great fight.
Yeah,
Which
without a
way are you
doubt.
leaning with this one?
Yep, Gary stepping in on 2 weeks notice for Jeff Neal, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
And
Again,
yep,
again
that's right. He did it
doing a
against
solid event.
Magny, or was that the last time he did it? It was against Magny,
No, he did it against
Shavkat.
Shavkat.
Against
Yeah,
Shavkat. That's right, and he did well there. That was a
yeah,
memorable fight, and I had a feeling he would do quite well there. He conceivably
yeah,
could have got that decision as well.
yeah, yeah,
So he is very, very excited to get back on track since then. And he's the younger fighter, but not by a lot. He's 27, which is really not even in your prime yet.
very young in fighting
Yeah,
terms.
yeah, and but he's just scratched the surface of his talent, and he fought December against Shavkat, and is 27 years old, 6'3", 170, one of the taller welterweights. Prates is 6'1", perhaps slightly taller, but shown as 6'1", 170, and he is
Yeah,
31 years old, right in his prime. Um, Prates has shown his striking to be amazing, better than Gary, but Gary can mix it up with the wrestling as well. And yeah, I like. I mean, Prates is super exciting. Fighting nerds are really good. I just think
yeah,
Gary is too good in this one. I think Gary's gonna mix it up on him and win the grappling exchanges, and kind of hit a balance attack to outpoint Carlos Prates, possibly even submit him. Although I think it's a somewhat of a long shot on that. Carlos Prates' few losses, if we take a look, um, are
yeah. I
one
think they were
minute.
before the UFC. One
Yeah,
one thing worth noting, bro. Like Ian Gary's tall, but Pratt, and this is what I remember from his fight against the Leech. His reach was so low. Like the Leech just couldn't get in close to him, and he just kept
right.
everything at the end of his punches. Even though he's a shorter fighter, he actually has a longer reach than Ian Gary.
Yeah.
So Ian Gary's got 74.5-inch reach. Prates has a 78-inch reach. He's got a really
Wow.
long reach for his height. And even his leg reach is longer than that of Gary. So even though he may be shorter, he's got the longer limbs. So it'd
Yeah.
be very interesting to see who manages the range and the distance because I think he hits a lot harder than Gary, but Gary's IQ is very good in the fight game.
Indeed.
It'll be interesting. If he
That's going
catches
to be a
Gary
great fight.
King, Gary could be in big trouble.
Yeah, he really could be. He in his early or in his career did lose by stoppage, but this is like going back 10 years or so when he was quite young. But his
Yeah,
submission skills are not going to be as good as Gary's. And yeah, Gary,
yeah.
this is a tough fight. The winner of this may be offered a title shot next and possibly should. It's going to be very interesting. But I do favor Ian Gary in this one.
So I've got Ian Gary to win a decision here. I think he fights smart. I think he gets the takedowns when he needs to offset the rhythm of Carlos Prates' striking. And I think he tries to make it a boring fight. If it becomes an exciting fight, it means that Ian Gary could potentially get KO'd. So I think he tries to make it a boring fight, does what he needs to do to get the win, keeps his ranking, and then tries to fight someone higher up so he can get that title shot.
That makes sense to me. I can see that 100%. Excellent analysis as always, Callum.
We will see. We will see. But people, we are going to wrap up there. Colin, please tell the people where they can find you and where they can support you, please, bro.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, bro. You guys can catch me always here when we do our show. We try to do it at least a couple times a month. We might even get back to trying to do it every week. I love working with Callum.
Indeed.
Thanks. And but you
Mine.
guys, it's always my pleasure, and it's always great, Callum, and appreciate it a lot. This is a fantastic show. Thanks to you. And I would also like to say you guys can find me on YouTube as MMA Journalist, Instagram MMA Journalist 1, Facebook at Colin Crandall MMA, on X at Colin Crandall 33, and you'll also see MMA Journalist up there. I'm also known as the MMA Professor, and check me out on all of those places. Don't have a TikTok yet or anything else. May jump into that, but right now X, YouTube, and Facebook and Instagram are where you can find me. Also gaining on the 1,000 followers on YouTube. So if you guys can follow me on YouTube, that would be super appreciated. And so yeah. And Callum, of course, let them know where they can find you. You do amazing programming as well as our show.
Appreciate you, man. You can find me here on the Sanderson Show. You can also find me doing shows across the board on YouTube as well. Callum Sanderson or the Sanderson Show on social media as well. And the links to Colin's channel will be in the description and the title of this video. Colin, it's always a pleasure doing these shows. Thank you so much. And I look forward to working with you again. And we'll see what happens this weekend.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see it. Always a treat chopping it up with you, and great fun.
Bless you, man. People, you know what to do now. Like, comment, subscribe. Until we see you again. This is MMA from London to LA. Take care, everyone.
Peace.